Crazy Camp Life, Votes, and Tribals. The life of a survivor is more than you see on TV. So if you need the scoop on island survival, crack a coconut, put on some rice, and let's spill the immunity. Hey everybody, welcome to Spill the Immunity, where we recap Survivor 45. We are on episode 12. It is almost the end. We are getting so close. We've had a lot of things go on, and I'm super excited. I thought last night's episode was spectacular. I felt really great afterwards. I was writing myself notes, and they were like, yes! And I felt lots of fun things. But what did you guys all think about it? What was your take on last night's episode? Whoever wants to dive in.
Go ahead, Brandon. You go first.
D is playing honors class survivor. The fact that she's the only one right now that I think is, besides Julie, that is looking at the game is completely different than you play the game the first 20 days. Like, she is playing last quarter survivor. Mm-hmm. Mind over heart. She could have told Austin what was going on, I thought, but she didn't because it's the better answer of the two. And my word, she's top notch right now.
We didn't know that by the name you put up there.
Yeah,
the Soul Survivor. I'm calling it right now.
He's calling it.
It's hard to see. Go ahead, Gina.
Oh, no. I was going to say, it was really big on her part not to tell Austin. And they left us with that cliffhanger going into Tribal. So I really didn't know what was going to happen. Very interesting that Austin had shared the information with her last week. She chose to keep it from him this week. But I think she also knows, I mean, it is the most strategic move to not tell him. And I also think that she knows that they'll be able to put it aside at the end. Like, I don't think that this fractures anything. I think she'll explain it, and I think he's head over heels for her anyway. So I feel like it can all be repaired. Alex, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, D obviously playing the best game. Heartbroken this episode. The core four is no more. I mean, it wasn't last episode too, but they could have, nobody was voted out. Julie's has a vendetta. She's out for blood. She got her blood too. Drew had his temper tantrum and kind of blew up, and he was at the final tribal and he was so cocky and when they show that on Survivor, they're going home, right? It's when they completely don't expect it. And he's like, I'm completely good. I knew in that moment, okay, he's gone. Goodbye. I was actually sad to see Drew go because I wanted the core four. I thought D and Austin and Drew at the end, that'd be really nice, but it didn't happen. Julie's kind of on my bad side now. I'm not really a big fan of Julie anymore, but go ahead, Brandon.
I think forget core four. It is the D3, baby. It is her, Julie, and Austin. I think she's been thinking three of those people. I don't think she's ever had Drew in her three, ever. She's... Have I told you how much I like how she's playing? Have I said that?
You like D?
Yeah.
I agree with Alex, though. I want to like Julie, but, it's like people who play the nice person role, but underneath it, they're like a real shark sometimes. Like, there's something about Julie. It's like she wants to control it all, and she gets very, she takes things really personally. And so I can't get on board with it completely. I feel bad. I want to like her, like as a player, as a person. But as a player, I don't know. There's something about it that just is not connecting with me.
I don't think it was the right move either. Because now it's 3-3. And if Julie's on the outs, now D's connected with Julie and she has Austin. So will Julie stay with D? Well, I think Julie's kind of a loose cannon at this point and is making up her own game. And what happened to Julie being the biggest threat? Now Drew is a bigger threat than Julie. Why wouldn't you get Julie out? Like, that's where I was like, what happened to Julie is the obvious one to win. So we got to get Drew because he's the mastermind of a failed plan. Like, how does that make sense?
It didn't make sense. I was really surprised. The thing that really surprised me the most, actually, that was like really mind-blowing to me, was right at the beginning, they were like, D and Julie are like, oh, we're working together, but we don't want anybody to know. Y'all been friends and buddies for the whole season.
I know.
Like, who are you kidding? That just like threw me. I was like, who would buy that? You guys aren't working together still. I mean, so I was really surprised with that, with that them thinking, oh, we're gonna act like we don't like each other all of a sudden. Nah.
I
Like,
know that was terrible. And they and he's like, am I selling this? Like, no.
no, you're not, honey. You're not. I
No,
hate to
no,
tell
not at
you,
all.
you're
He is a
not.
great player, but that was one of the least, believable things for sure, that they were, gonna be at odds like that. Anybody who knows them, which should be everybody out there, knows that they're gonna repair it. I do have to say, I'm really enjoying Jake. Well, I always like Jake, but I'm also kind of enjoying Katurah. Like, I kind of like these two playing from the bottom. Like, they're fiery, and I kind of like it. Especially Jake is hilarious. Like, I am just a Jake fan, and nobody can tell me otherwise.
The
Yeah.
3 lawyers are still in it, man. We have top 5 and 3
Oh my God.
lawyers.
The lawyers are going strong.
What is this?
Yeah.
So there
yeah.
will be a lawyer in the final,
There will be.
because now the odds are forever in their favor. I mean, that's
Correct.
just the way it is.
Yeah.
So we will see at least one lawyer in the end, and only one of them is known to the tribe. So that, which I think is really interesting as well,
That's
that they've
funny.
kind of kept it, even though I think Jake has some days I think he's really with it and like totally thinks that that could be what Katurah is, but other times I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
He doesn't know.
And is it, and I don't know the answer yet, and I'll ask the question, is it in all 3 lawyers' best interest to have those other 2 with them at the end? Because I don't know if D is gonna, as a lawyer, I don't know if they're thinking they're beating D now because of all the twists and turns she's kind of been involved in. And with Austin, he's going to be the physical one at all the challenges to win these things. So is it in their best interest to kick out Austin, then D, and then have them as the final 3? Or do you think that one of them would possibly take an Austin or a D instead of the other 2?
I think the most probable, and you saw it on the reward challenge, D, Austin, Kat at the end, right? Because Kat, she even said it herself, I don't really have much of a resume. She tried to pull this kind of blindside on D, but D was even wise to this Drew blindside. So it wasn't, they were like, oh, well, we can vote out Drew, and that will be like a mark on our resume as opposed to D's. But I mean, she was in on it, so, and she facilitated it, So but this is why I said it was dumb to vote Drew out, because now you have Kat and Jake, and they just need to pull in Julie or one other. It's not going to be D likely, but they'll maybe bring in D to vote off Julie, right? And then it's 2-2.
I
And
know
then
that
what do
doesn't
you-
make any sense, because Jake and
Yeah.
Katurah are only going to do what is best for them. They have no loyalty to anybody.
100%.
They're an absolute swing vote. They're
100%.
complete wild cards. So I agree with Alex. Like, it was really dumb of the core 4 to turn on each other this early. Like, they really needed each other. And then whatever happens at the end happens. But with Jake and Katurah in the mix, it's like, I mean, if you ask me what they're going to do next week, I'm like, I have no idea. Whatever will get them to the end, whoever pulls them in, whoever's sitting in the better position, that's where those 2 are going to, I would think that's where they're going to go.
I think they're going to go on Julie. I think Dee has proven now that she will lie to get to the end, even though her tribal council was very risky, in my opinion. The way she performed at tribal council, I was really, really concerned about it. But I think that she proved that her goal is that money, and her family is what comes first. And she said, I will swear on every single person, and they will thank me and they'll be alive and thank me when I get home. So if Julie thinks that she has this really tight bond with D, I don't think it's there. I think Dee said specifically, Austin is my other number 1. So you have 2 and they're both number 1, and you just lied to one of them who is a romantic interest as well. Julie, what do you think Dee's going to do to you? I think Dee's going to turn. This is the week to take Julie out. I think she'll turn on Julie. I think Dee and Kat are really tight, because they both, when they looked at each other and they go, on the count of 3, we're going to say who we want gone. And they both said Drew, right?
That was
that was cute,
really
but
funny.
that's a connection. So she's got Dee and Katurah and Dee. So Dee has Katurah and Katurah has Jake. So, I mean, they have the numbers, and I'm sure Austin, just with those 3, I mean, they have the numbers to either take out Austin or take out Julie whenever they want. And I think either you take Julie out or you have to take Austin out, because who can make fire the best. I think that's what you look. The next thing is who makes fire the best to get like who I want to bring with.
And I really think that they played that Julie starting fire thing at the beginning of the season up, and they made sure they put that on tape. And I really think it's going to come down to that. Oh my gosh, how much fire would it be if Dee has to choose between either putting Austin and like how much game is she going to play at the very end? Is her heart going to get in the way when it's the final four and she wins immunity and she has to pick two of them to make fire? And she could easily beat Katurah and your boy Jake.
But, I know.
But so I'm very interested in what, and I think we should talk about who would they put in the fire making challenge if they win this next immunity. For all of them, that'd be kind of fun. But I want to get back to what you were talking about with them saying the name Drew at the same time. How funny that was for Jeannie, your boy Jake, to say, "Hey, Katurah is going to think that this is her play, and I want to make sure this is my play." And then all of a sudden, it goes to Katurah doing what she said she wouldn't do with Jake and make it her move.
That's always what she does.
Oh, she's awesome.
She is the queen of taking the information and running. And Jake always. You got to enjoy Jake because he always thinks he's like, I'm back, baby. And then he's
Charlie Brown
again, like left out. But he is, if nothing else, he's resilient. He really embodies, I think, what Survivor's about. And he is so entertaining. I mean, it's just, again, just being a girl from New England, the Boston accent, like the attitude, it's so funny to me. Like, he's definitely not playing the best game. I don't think he would say he's playing the best game, but it's just been really entertaining. And I also think it's nice that they all really like each other too. Like they were saying at Tribal, like I believe it. I feel like they'll really, hopefully be friends, stay in touch outside of it. That's been very interesting too. Yes, thank you. I have been validated. He's probably not going to win, but that's okay. I don't need everyone to be like the biggest comp beast or the biggest strategic mastermind. He's great TV. And I have to say, producers did a phenomenal job casting him. So, I mean, I'm rooting for him. I want him to pull out the win in the end, but he can't even play the idol now, right? He found it, but he can't play it, right?
He can play it. Can he at Final 5? Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'm really rooting for a big move next week. I thought he had to play it in this one. Okay.
Well, remember, he said he has to play it and not just be immune.
Make a big move.
He's going to be doing some handiwork in this next episode. I can't wait.
Well, it's going to be the finale is going to be so great. I mean, if everyone's smart, the person they'll really get rid of is Dee because she's, just playing a phenomenal game. And I've been kind of like, on the fence about her. Like, is she really, this great? But I don't know. I got to go with Brandon. Like, she really won me over this week. I was like, okay, look at her go. She's great. I mean, if she pulls off the win, she's, like your female player.
Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was just going to say, there is a path forward where neither Dee or Julie goes to the end, and then it's Austin, Jake, and Katurah, and then Austin might not even win that because people are going to look at him as like, you puppy dog, you were in love with Dee, she dragged you all the way to the end, and then
you wanted a sandwich.
She blindsided you, and that's what they're saying. It's like, Jake and Kat, these two unlikely heroes, can take over this game from the weakest position, and this core four who was so strong, so dominant, could have taken over the entire game, just self-cannibalized each other because they all think they're all too smart or something, right?
Austin may have lost it on that vote.
He did. Well, he's been out of
lost the game. Yeah.
Well, I think once it comes out too that he didn't tell Drew.
Yep.
Well, he did tell Drew that he told Dee, but that Dee wasn't going to tell, and that wasn't going to tell Julie, right? I'll also say last week we talked about how Drew might have this safety without power, and then he didn't use it. And I was like, okay, I got to go look this up. So it actually ended at 10.
Yeah.
So I was just like kind of misspeaking, but I'll just say this: Survivor, if you're going to add in all these twists, you got to like remind us a little bit more. Or
when does it expire? I know. When? I don't know.
And then it expires at 10. Like, that's stupid. Like, that's so early. It should, 10 is like way too early for that advantage to expire, 8. In my opinion. I mean, even up to final 6 or 5, I think
there's
you're
way
have
too many expiration dates on these things.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe that pan that Drew threw had an expiration date and he couldn't use it anymore.
That's what it was.
That's why
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I want to get into that whole Drew behavior because that was really irritating to me. But because what you said, Alex, I want to make a point about that because that was like really struck me. You said, what if it's Austin,
Yeah.
Jake, and Couture?
I never thought about that.
I don't think we've ever
No.
even said that out loud.
No.
Like, I haven't even thought it.
Same.
Like, to put those three together. But, there is that Austin, was really tight with Drew. Those two were the two.
Mhm.
And he's now betrayed by Dee, and he knows it. So, there, you think that, I don't know, that it just depends, because the choice that Dee made, sending Drew out, was not just getting rid of a really, like, someone that's a competitive player, but it was also a betrayal vote,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So there was a twofold vote for her. So getting out somebody that's in her core four and betraying someone that she's supposed to be her number one. And so it'll be interesting to see how I'm really interested to see that first scene.
Me
when they
too. The
come back-
fallout.
when
Yes.
they come back to camp, to see what that's like, because Brandon, you're shaking your head. You just think Austin is just
I
done.
think he's toast. I think that he's too much of a puppy dog right now. And I didn't see anything in the preview for next week to say anything about there's going to be any drama between the two. And that's what I was looking for in that preview, is to see
Me too.
what are they going to, and they didn't say anything. So
No.
that
Yeah.
tells me that it's going to be a 5-second. Oh, I understand, baby. Like, we're
Yeah,
still gonna
she
fight.
sweet talks her
maybe
way
they'll
out
have
of
their
it.
their first kiss. Oh, here, right? Oh, sorry, baby. There was a reason that they told the story of Austin's background, how he grew up as this kind of fat, nerdy kid and didn't identify. And that played into, well, guess what? I don't think Dee was like that growing up. You know what I mean? I'm not saying she's, whatever, but, she's a good looking woman. And so she's had a little bit more relationship experience. And I think if Austin had some more relationship experience and maybe has been heartbroken a couple of times, he would have been like, okay, this isn't my first rodeo. But before it was, he's like, true love exists. This is a Disney movie. We're Rob and Amba, and we're gonna go, and like from the outside perspective, you can just look at that relationship and say, okay, like Dee, if the shoe was on the other foot, Dee would probably play it differently, and she did. It's just so crazy that it was the exact same situation.
Yes.
It was the exact same thing, and it was who will play by their heart and who won't.
Mhm.
This, you could get into some like Survivor logic here of like, the women are very strategic, you could say sexual players in the Survivor game. It's not very often that you see a man, maybe in the situation of Russell, that would be like the archetypal example of a man manipulating a woman type of thing. But yeah, it's just it's sad to see. It's a bad look for Austin, and it really destroys his credibility in the game, because he has played a really great game up until this point. And then in this last kind of final stretch, he's kind of been made a fool of, unfortunately.
I know. I actually
And I
felt
like Austin.
sad. I know his face. Like, I always feel bad. Like, I want a blindside because I want the episode to be interesting. But the empath in me, like in any show,
Yes.
could be Survivor, Big Brother. I'm always like, wait, no. Like, I could hate the player, and I'm like, oh no, their face. I feel so bad. Like, they just look so sad. I liked, Drew is very entertaining, and I like Austin as a player for the most part. I do agree he's gotten caught up in the whole Dee thing, but yeah, his face at Tribal, I was like, oh no. Even though it was really dumb of him to tell Dee last week, I was like, don't do that. But yeah, I can't help but feel bad at a blindside.
Well, and the other thing is that we knew that that Austin was going to play his idol, because it's the last time he can play it, right? So he
Yeah.
wasn't an option, and I think for the most part, Dee and Julie knew and Drew obviously know he has this idol, so they knew he was safe, so he wasn't an option.
Mhm.
But they got in there, and he could play that idol for anybody, right? Didn't have to play it for himself,
Right.
So what
Right.
What was Dee doing during Tribal Council? I have to get into that, because she said something like, I don't think we're set in our final three. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I was going, what are you doing, Dee? Like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but that, like, she made so many references to the fact that that's not my final three. I'm not locked in with you guys. Like, you should know that. And even Austin, if you notice, he kept looking at Dee several times when she was talking about this stuff. He kept looking over at her going, what are you saying? Like,
Yeah.
what are you saying? And
Well, maybe he thought that they were referring to Julie in that case, and to try to sell it that Julie was the one going home. I mean, that's the only thing. And I'm just like imagining like a scenario where he gets, the inkling like, so maybe Drew's in trouble and he plays it for Drew. It would have been so great. Another blindside, I would have felt bad, but this is the juxtaposition of me and my obsession with reality TV. I want the adrenaline and I want the, feeling bad afterwards. But yeah, he was looking at her, but as I figured, she was just probably selling Julie to everybody. I don't know why anybody's buying. Why is anybody buying anything? Why is anyone buying that Austin didn't tell Dee and Dee didn't tell Julie? Why is anyone buying that Dee and Julie aren't talking? Like, what's going on? They need
it goes back to they're stuck on the first part of the game.
Yes.
And Emily started this with not playing that silly game where she could have won immunity, because in the second half of the game, you play the game. Like you try to get immunity. You don't worry about people trusting you anymore, because you have to start lying right now. Mm-hmm. And the only two people doing that are Julie and Dee right now.
They really are.
Yeah. Well, Emily was definitely missed this episode, as far as she added a new kind of element to the game, right? Yeah. And I think if she was still there in the situation, let's say, Kat went home last week and Drew was up on the chopping block, right? Mm-hmm. I think Emily would have said, hey, there's something happening here. Like, Drew, you orchestrated this vote. I think she was kind of a second opinion to Drew, maybe made him less cocky, right? Because he could respect her opinion, and then she had a kind of an outsider's opinion on their kind of dynamic. Mm-hmm. So that was a big loss for Drew, and he should have saw it coming that they voted his essentially number one off. Emily, that you're a target, you're not well liked in this. And then how can he not? He's the most dominant male personality wise in that group and position. Have you ever watched Survivor? Don't you know that you're a threat? His cockiness in Tribal just made no sense to me. And then you contrast that to Julie, who's playing, who's like, I'm on the outs and nobody likes me, and and I don't have an alliance, and I'm probably going, and it's just like there's such that just juxtaposition there of somebody who's playing and somebody who just for whatever reason got high on their own supply.
Yeah, I mean, when he was saying like, I don't know, is it me or does this feel pretty easy? I was like, oh, he's going home.
Alarm bells start going on.
Early. The minute, when it happens on Big Brother too, they're like, is it me or is this week just going so smoothly? I'm like, you're going home. The minute you say that, it's over. But I don't know, I don't know how, so late in the game, I don't know how any of them could feel remotely comfortable at all. That's people's biggest mistake.
There's also 3 women.
Yeah.
3 women. So it's like 3 women versus 3 men. You should kind of know there might be a female thing going on, right?
Right. So, right. You should probably guess that something's going on. And people that you haven't really worked with that closely, these loose ends on the island still, Jake and Katurah. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Brandon?
He thought more about his limbo illustration than he did about what if.
He's great with the analogies, though. 10 out of 10 for analogies.
He is.
0 out of 10 for awareness.
Two things. I want to go to the reward challenge first of all, and I almost messaged you guys last night, and I wanted to say no sanctuary because we went somewhere different. We did something different. So the reward was a helicopter ride and a picnic in a bunch of sand in the middle of the ocean. I was like, I don't know. They had a name for it. I was just like, it's just a big sandbar in the middle of the ocean.
Hilarious.
It's fine, but that's cool. Like the helicopter ride's so cool, and then you get to eat. So it's a marvelous reward. Jeff is catching some flack. I saw in the media about buzzing the tower, fly the helicopter over the camp. I loved it. We've seen it before.
It was great.
I don't know why this was a big surprise. They have done it, I think, once or twice in the past with an actual helicopter, but we've had a yacht several times that has been right offshore where they can hear them partying it up and laughing and having a great time. And then, like you said earlier, Gina, before we went on camera, you mentioned the camp, like the rewards at camp where they eat in front of everybody else.
That the smell of hamburgers just wafting around. I mean, it was kind of funny. And what did Jake say? Like, he got up, he's like, all right, I guess we got to go do this. Like trudging down to the beach. Like, I'll wave. I'll bite. He's like, hey. And Drew just standing there. And then as they flew by, Austin's like, look at Drew. He's just standing there, just staring up at them, being, angry. I mean, it was kind of crappy that he got left behind to, I guess, babysit them. But, a lot of these reward challenges, like the girls' day at the spa and the boys' day, set up for some great content. And I loved that Julie was being babysat because Jake's like, I'm going to let you stay up, Julie. I'm going to let you have ice cream. Like, I don't know. It's so the dynamic of these reward challenges and who gets left behind or whatever, honestly, are some of the most entertaining parts of the season. I thought the babysitting thing was hilarious, honestly.
I loved it. And I was, Drew just was on my last nerve during this episode. I was so happy he left.
You're funny.
It was because he was just complaining and he was like, oh, they're not going to pick me. Oh, this just sucks for me. And he had his own little pity party. And then he got really mad and he threw the pot in the lid that had, like you said, Alex, had an expiration date on it or something. It's
hilarious.
Like, it was just like, he just is having these temper tantrums and having this horrible time. And it's like, excuse me, Drew, there's still a game going on. What can you be doing?
Exactly.
And why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you looking for the idol? You never did. What are you doing to, move forward in the game? Because the game is always on. It's 24/7. That's why you're there. That's why it's so intense. You should always be thinking game and get out of your own head of this poor, oh, woe is me. To me, he was a crybaby this episode. I was glad. I'm not going to be nice to him because I really had a hard time because he's too smart for that. I guess that was the problem for me, right? He's all these words and he's always got this really cool analogy and all these, the sword of Damocles. Come on. And then you're throwing the pot and pan.
He's
in it for the sound bites, right?
Rice stand for hours every time.
But didn't you love Jake's? See, that's why I like Jake so much because, Jake's, Drew's like, this is the worst. And Jake's like, but you're on Survivor. He's like, yeah, but I scrape rice off a pan. He's like, on Survivor. Like, you know what I mean? So I love people that are just, it's like no matter how bad it's going, no matter how terrible it gets, they're just like so happy to be there. And we're all super fans. So it's like we would feel the same way, and I love that was his response twice in a row. On Survivor. Like, how bad is it really scraping? What else are you going to do out there? Like play your Xbox, there's nothing to do. So scrape rice off the pan and go look for an idol. Like, what are we complaining about here? Yeah. And then when he left, the jury was like, who was it, Kelly? She was like, he's so pissed. Like as he walked away. Yeah, he was mad. I don't know. He was just in a bad mood. Brie, you're funny though. Like, I've had it. I'm fed up.
Get
right.
out.
You read a lot of books. Why don't you read How to Win Friends and Influence People? Right. Like read that book.
He was like in it for the sound. I mean, listen, he came out of the season with a lot of sound bites. He got the titles of episodes. He got a couple titles of episodes, but yeah, he needed a little more action at the end and definitely a lot more awareness. I wonder, even in the end, in the ending credits, he was saying like, like, I don't even know how I feel about the experience. Like, if I've grown.
Yeah, he said it was a deeply ambiguous experience.
I'm like,
deeply ambiguous.
He speaks like a politician. Just be straightforward. What are you saying? Was it good? Was it bad? Did you enjoy it? I'm curious, like, in the reunion, like what, and in his interviews, like what his perspective is.
He's never understood the emotion side of the game throughout. I mean, they even made mention when the dancing bug again, I'll reference that, where Austin were having the conversation. The only reason Austin was talking with him and not experiencing the dancing bug is because I think Austin does understand a little bit the emotions.
He would have been there.
And was kind of favoring and pandering towards Drew's wanting to talk about sciencey, influence and swords and everything. So
Yeah, Drew's gonna have a great analogy cocked for the reunion.
He's right.
Get ready.
He had time at Ponderosa. He was writing all of them down, getting ready.
Oh yeah, Drew on the jury. Drew's a good person to have on the jury.
He is going to be
he is very cutting. He is very pointed and thoughtful with his stuff, and he might really, depending on who's at the end, right? He could really sway the jury. Caleb too. I'll be interested to hear Caleb's kind of opinion of how the game goes, and yeah, like I do feel like the final three is it's a big question mark right now. I mean, it seems like it's going to be D. D is kind of going to pick who she wants, which seems like it's going to be Austin, right? Because she knows she's going to trounce him in the end, and then she could also kind of save the relationship there. But as far as the third person, yeah, kind of a big question mark.
Yeah.
Well, the whole D and Drew thing, a few things that happened this episode that I thought were interesting as well. Little side notes. On the confessional with D, we saw the producers asking questions again, which I love. So like, what's the deal with you in Austin, right?
Yeah.
Like, I loved that. I love that we're seeing like the questions from the producers. I think that's fun. I really, really liked it a lot. But so if Austin is calling himself the smart Aussie, that would make D his Parvati, whatever. I can never say her name right. Right?
Mhm.
And what happened to Ozzy in that relationship?
Wasn't that Amanda? Wasn't he with Amanda? Ozzy?
Well, it depends on what season, because I think
depends on the
Parvati and
season.
Ozzy
had
were on
a-
2 seasons together.
Yeah. So she turned coat on him and turned coat on them a couple of times. But I mean, and even with the Amanda situation, I don't think that went well either. They're right though, Brandon. I think I might be thinking of Amanda in that, but still, it didn't go well for Ozzy in either situation. So,
No.
like, if you're going to call yourself that, then pay attention to what happened to Ozzy and how the women kind of sank his ship a few times. So, yeah, I don't know.
I do feel like, I mean, Parvati, I think always was, you know, she is, you know, a very admitted flirt, and she uses that to, you know, get ahead in the game. I do think, and I don't think she really, you know, cares, you know, romantically for the guys that she's flirting with on the island. I do think Dee really cares for Austin, but, you know, I think she has it all in perspective. Like, okay, he's cool, he's fun, I like him, but I've only known this guy for 3 weeks, and we're talking about life-changing money. And it's so funny on these shows how quickly people are willing to throw away, or not, they don't maybe realize they're throwing it all away for a showmance, for a friend that they met, and it's like, you just met each other, you know? I mean, there's a ton of people from my life that I don't talk to anymore, and I knew them a lot longer than 3 weeks. Never mind, we're on a reality show and there's nothing else going on. So I think Dee has very good perspective in a lot of ways, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
I would agree.
Go ahead.
I would agree. Dee did make the right move, but it's just from an audience perspective, we're looking at the exact same situation happened with Austin, and we want true love to exist.
Yeah, we do.
And because it's a TV show, and it doesn't. But I agree. Like, we talked about this. Like, you go to summer camp and you're like, these are my best friends ever. And after summer camp, you never see them again. You never talk to them again. And that's what Survivor is. But it does, in the clip where the producers were interviewing Dee, she did have this like, she did seem in love, right? She did seem very giddy and very, like she really does have feelings for Austin.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see when she sees those, those past pictures of him. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead, Brandon.
That's funny. She needs to drop her skincare routine, by the way. Why does she look so phenomenal on some of the women on the show? I'm like, how? And every season, I'm like, how? You just 10 out of 10. Like, I'm like, what is it? But yeah, she's always like, she's just glowing out there. I don't blame her.
Irma smile too. She, like, said that from the beginning. Why she's such a strong player. She just has this big smile,
warm.
And warm. And yeah, go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
I can't speak into the skincare routine thing at all, but I
give your perspective.
right. But I do think that when we talked about she is Ozzy's Parvati, I think she is that move that she did not play with her heart and she kept on going and kept it from Austin and vote, that turned her into a returning player. And in our top 12 thing,
we got to do that
this season in that top 12 because she's playing.
Yeah, we're coming up to that. We're going to get into our top 12. We need to have some time for it. I do want to make one mention, since we are talking the comparison of Dee and Austin. I got this moment, this flash of kind of Corey and America from Big Brother. And I was trying to come up with so just off the recent season of Big Brother, Corey and America had the showmance. They did the whole thing. They both got voted out. Comerica. And that's what everybody called them. Corey was like, really smart, kind of a little awkward. Yep. America was this bombshell. She was beautiful. And so I was like, is it what are we calling Austin and Dee? Is it like Audie?
They can only be Dawson, right?
Dawson. I was like, is it Dust?
Dust.
Dee and Austin.
That's great. Dust. Love it.
Well,
that's
it.
Yeah. No one can convince me otherwise now. It's Dust or nothing.
It's Dust. Yeah.
His game's about to be Dust. So it's very appropriate if he doesn't get it together. Get it together. that's funny.
100%. Before we wrap up the way that everything shook out last night, we move into some other stuff about Jeff. And I want to talk a little bit about Jeff before we get to our dream team. But anything else that we got out of tribal council that we saw, like that happened, like the way people were reacting? What are we thinking? It's like the jury is very reactive. And
They
so
are.
what's your take on how the jury is seeing all this right now?
Well, with
Well,
Kendra on the jury, it's always reactive, right? Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say Emily was like stone cold. She's like playing like the
Was.
classic jury, like, hey, no emotion, just
Yeah.
be and I don't like this new jury. They're like jumping all over each other and they're trying, it's like they're trying to get on TV more, right? So they're just doing this overacting, like like every single time
Like Mr.
anybody
Beast
does
reactions.
anything.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
give
yeah.
a reaction like, oh,
Yeah. Whoa, there's a huge, it's just like, give me a break. You're supposed to be an impartial jury. You ever seen like a jury in court? Like
Yeah.
imagine
Oh,
a
I
jury
wish-
in court. They're
wish
like,
that would be-
whoa, that was a you're supposed to be silent.
Yeah.
Now I'm wishing that every jury was like that.
Imagine in
Yeah.
real courts. Whoa! Yeah,
I
just like
would-
falling
right.
all over each other.
Right.
Like,
They're
oh, that
jumping up
witness
and
is
down,
Chris.
slamming the chairs.
It is. I do agree. Wait, you know what? Now that you're saying it, like they do like are overreacting a bit. Okay, everybody on the season needs some acting lessons. Maybe Jake could give them the acting lessons. The theater boy.
Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
God.
like I said, it influences the people who are playing. And when you're on the jury, you're supposed to be out of the game.
Yes, I agree.
But everyone keeps trying to like, oh, I want to get, I want to have a big reaction. So they cut to me on the, on the big screen, right?
I do want somebody that's good at doing edits and Gina, are you the one that, or Brie, were you the one that came up with the graphics for the show?
Yes.
Could
Yeah.
you make an Emily on tribal council or on the jury and getting voted out like an American Gothic style of those two? Because they had the same faces as American Gothic. the
Oh my
whole-
God, that's so funny.
Please.
Just like with
Yeah.
their little pitchfork. Yes. That's
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah, the jury is something else.
Yeah, they really are.
I can't tell who they're rooting. I mean, even though they're having big reactions, like I can't really tell like what they're going to do in the end, which I guess is a good thing. I'm very interested to see how, are they going to be tough on them? Are they going to be like lovey-dovey like some juries are, like just congratulating everyone and being nice? I'm very interested to see what happens. I hope Drew's nice and bitter and did a little digging question at him, make him work for that million.
Yeah, they got to work for the million. The one thing I wanted to shout out really quick, a shout out to Gabler. He just posted recently all of the charities that he donated. The entire $1 million has been donated. He put it out there. He said, these are the places that we've donated to. I thought that was just really, really well done. Kudos to him. Does anybody say that word anymore? Kudos. Anyway, I was really impressed by it. I thought it was really awesome. So I wanted to give him a quick shout out for that. I thought that was really, really cool. So that kind of leads me into the jury reaction. They looked at each other and they're like, that's a great question.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about Jeff this episode. We haven't given him torches in a while, but like, what did we think about Jeff during the episode and then at the tribal? Because I thought his questions at tribal were really spot on this week. I thought he was asking the right things. He was really pushing the buttons and saying, are you guys set in your, how true are you to your locked into your final three? What's happening with this? It just felt like there was a lot more to it this week. Maybe they're just showing us more because I'm sure he always does that. But what do you guys think?
Oh, who wants to go first?
For those same reasons, I think he did a great job. I think the questions were fantastic. I thought that even during the challenge, when it was a first new challenge or a new challenge, right? He made mention the dream team and their record that they had when they were playing for absolutely nothing and trying to do it. But 21 minutes I think is what it lasted, and kind of full reference to that. I thought he did great.
Yeah.
This question always kind of throws me off because a lot of times Jeff to me is like, he's just part of the set, and his things because it is formulaic. Survivor is formulaic. He says the same things at the same times. The pace goes the same way. Sometimes you just completely block him out unless he has, some of those really amazing Jeff moments, stabbing the bag of rice with the knife, or some of the questions that he asks are So this episode, I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I didn't really notice.
Listen, you can't
stand-up
stab a
battle.
bag of rice, and you're gonna have to try to top that then, and nothing tops that for me this season. So I
You should just pull it out at tribal council every once
Every
in a while
now
and say,
and then,
who
just
wants
scare 'em.
it?
I thought that was great. I do. Brandon mentioned, the new competitions that we saw, and one thing that I loved is in the barrel competition. Julie's like struggling, but she was like, "This is so fun!" Like that was great, and I did like that he was saying how long the dream team had done it. I just, yeah. I mean, overall, like I would say it's he did well. He was good. It wasn't like his best performance, but it wasn't his most background performance either. It was fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Three,
I thought it was
three and a
good.
half, 4, maybe 4.
4. I think we can go with a solid 4 on Jeff. Sorry, Jeff. We do that to you every week. If you don't like it, come on the show and tell us why. All right. So let's get to it. What we decided this week, we wanted to pick our dream team. Any player, any show, Australia, United States, South Africa, UK, though I don't know if any of us are going UK. I certainly didn't. Pick our top 12, create a dream team. I'm excited to hear what everybody chooses. I think Alex he's been teasing me in like sending me a message is like, did you do yours yet? I have mine, but I'm not telling you. So Alex, lead us off.
Yeah, go ahead. Give
Let's
it 12.
hear your dream team.
Well, spoilers too. Spoilers beware if you haven't watched Australian Survivor. My favorite player of all time is Liz, who was the winner of Survivor Australia. I thought she was an amazing, strong female player, physical, had an amazing alliance with my second pick, King George. He's probably my favorite narrative player. And, he just brought a different element to Survivor that's never been done before. And I respect it so much. And I haven't watched his first season on Australian Survivor, so I'll have to watch that. But him on Heroes versus Villains Australia was just so fun to watch. And then Liz killing all the challenges. I love that. Third, Carolyn. I love Carolyn. She's like, honestly, should be my number 1 because she was one of the funnest people to ever watch. Really love Carolyn. So Carolyn, come on the show. We love you. Okay. Fourth, Cochran. Big Cochran fan. Love the nerdy Cochran guy. And he comes back and he wins it. After he is able to crunch the numbers, he comes back and he wins. I love that. Boston Rob. I love Boston Rob. I didn't really like Boston Rob when I first watched it, but we just rewatched him and Amber and then he came back and won himself. An amazing player, of course. 6, Natalie Anderson. She was on, I think, Blood versus Water, right, with her sister. So dominant, super strong female player, super social, so likable. I mean, she could come back and probably win it again, to be honest, in the modern age. 7th, Jonathan Young. Big, strong Jonathan from, I think it was last season. I mean, you got to have him on your team. He was like the biggest challenge beast of all time. Like he was just put literally the whole world on his back on every single challenge. So I love that. 8th, David, another kind of neurotic, nerdy player who I thought did really amazing. And I love watching him. A lot of these are just love. I like the nerdy, underdog, which leads into number 9, which is Christian. If you remember Christian, he was the nerdy robotics guy. And he played a really amazing game. He was going to win it all, but he became too big of a target. Okay, I'm really on the neurotic, nerdy bandwagon because I also have Mike, School of Rock. If you guys remember Mike from school, he was the guy who wrote School of Rock.
Mike
he actually
Wade.
wrote.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he actually wrote. What's that show that's super popular? It's on HBO. White Lotus. He wrote White Lotus. I mean, he's like really, really rich now. He's a really fun player, and he was with that attorney from the South, and he'd be like, it was just, and then he'd be like, he was cute. Okay. 11. I had to do this one for Brie, and because she's a great player, Sandra.
Thank you.
Okay, Sandra. But Brie, you're gonna hate me for this one. My number 12 is Russell.
Oh man,
Russell. I mean, Russell. I like the villain on Survivor, and he is the biggest, baddest villain of all time. You found a big hole in his game though when he came back and he tried to do the same strategy. Once people were wise to his strategy, because it got him to the end twice.
Yeah.
But it was this he had one strategy, which was attached to a young woman, manipulate the crap out of the women and get to the end. once people were wise to that, his game kind of got the males in the tribe were too wise to him, and so he since he was kind of shorter, the guys didn't really see him as a threat. But once all the males in the tribe realized, oh, this guy is a danger, his game is pretty much, he's not able to manipulate the guys like he is the women. So, but all-time villain, great player, and fun to watch. So those are my top 12. Liz, George, Carolyn, Cochran, Rob, Natalie, Jonathan, David, Christian, Mike, Sandra, and Russell. That's my tribe. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
love it. It's a great list. It's funny because we have a lot of similarities. So that'll be interesting. Our minds all like go to the same place. Who wants to go next?
Oh, I've got mine.
Okay, Gina, lay it on us.
All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm an old school Survivor fan, so all of my picks are nostalgic and the earlier seasons, but I kick it off with Boston Rob. I'm a Boston Rob stan. He's my favorite player of all time. I will never probably change my mind on that. So Boston Rob, I know he's played the game a million times, but I don't care. Bring him back. Number 2, one of my favorite winners ever, Tom Westman. Tom was just all class all the way. I was such a fan of him during Palau. Another class act that I am a big fan of is Yule from Cook Islands. Very kind of quiet, low-key player, but very methodical, very strategic. Really enjoyed his win. And then next is Cochran. Just like Alex, I'm a big fan. I love a good nerdy player. And I really loved watching Cochran's journey on the show, playing twice, winning the second time. Also on the list, on Alex's list, and sorry, Bree, but Russell, because I feel like Russell got robbed. I know that the jury was bitter. I know he was difficult, but he played his absolute heart and ass off, and he deserved the win, whether you liked him or not. He played so hard, and he made good TV. I think he is the most robbed player ever of a win, whether we like him or not. Okay, next is Spencer, who I really liked, Spencer Bledsoe. Some people like him, some people don't. I quite enjoyed him. And then my 7th pick is Kelly Wentworth, who I super enjoy as a player. And by the way, she's so funny on TikTok. She just made a video with a whiteboard asking like Austin, like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm going to draw it out for you. Kelly is fun. She's strategic and a great player. Also, Stephanie LaGrossa. Stephanie is a 3-time player. Highest win was during Guatemala. And Stephanie is the player where her tribe got whittled down to nobody. It was just her. Followed by Jenna Maraska, who I have just a soft spot for. And one of the most heart-wrenching moments is when she left All-Stars to go be with her mom, and her mom passed away, I think 8 days later. I just always liked Jenna. She has that iconic Survivor moment of getting off of the pole, right, to eat peanut butter. And I feel like that's a moment that still stays with us. If we're going to have Rob, we need to have Amber, even though I know everyone would target them. So Amber is my next pick, which is my 10th. 11th is Parvati. Parvati is not my favorite player, but she's just a force. She's a great personality. She knows how to play the social game. She's a strong competitor. And my 12th pick, I mean, like the 2 women, I've tried to pick someone from this season. So right now, Dee has really done it for me. But I want to say Kelly, but I feel like, if it was going to be a new player from this season, it would be Dee. At this moment. So that's my 12, just 11 all-stars from the past, and then someone from this season. Yeah, Kelly Wentworth is great, Bobby, right? She's so funny. Really, if you don't follow her on TikTok, it's something you got to watch her. Her commentary this season has been 10 out of 10.
100%. I love Kelly Wentworth too. That's a really good list.
I'm throwing it back.
Really good list. It's like, and I'm thinking like, oh, I hadn't thought of them. Like I'm getting like, because my mind is like focused in a specific direction. So that's really funny. All right, Brandon, what do you got?
All right. So I know first, this is nerve wracking. You guys have done a lot of homework on this. So that is, Bree, you said that you had a 7-5 split as far as females, males. So I went ahead and did 5-7 just to equal us back out. So my ladies are Carolyn for all the reasons that Alex, you said, great TV plus strategic. You don't get both of those very often, but she was fantastic. From this season, Queen D. She's coming back for a second season. She's going to rock the second season. All the moves that she's done all season long and still hasn't been brought up as a potential threat. I don't get it yet. Sandra, 2 wins. You can't not have Sandra. Tina Wesson is going to be my surprise one, just because I think her social game, she doesn't need anything else but just how to maneuver socially with everybody. And she's a strong woman, I think. And then Suri, I don't see how I haven't heard her name yet from you guys, just because what reality TV show has she been on where she didn't do well? And people know who she is, and she still, Traders did wonderful. And then Big Brother, I think she did pretty good, right? So that's my female list. And then my I couldn't figure out if I wanted to go favorites or who I thought was great at the game, because that's a completely different list. But don't have King George only because I think he is the best player, but I kept it U.S. Survivor. So I agree completely with you, Alex, on King George. But I included Boston Rob because I do think that Jeff wouldn't allow me to say this list on any kind of social media platform or any kind of without it.
You got it.
Just to make us official, guys.
Thank you.
Tony, amazing. Learned from his game more than anybody else on his weaknesses, developed some strengths. There's a lot of go-to episodes with him doing these very creative things that we still talk about today. I think one person who deserved to win the game the most but did not was Dominic from Ghost Island. So I have Dominic on the list for those reasons, that I think he was robbed of a victory, and I think he's robbed of never coming back. Not sure why, maybe it's up to him, but that was it. I think the funniest guy ever on Survivor, the one that made me laugh the most through all the seasons, was Keith Nail. Rest in peace. Great player, funny guy, stealing the tuk-tuk and driving that with everybody on it. Hilarious. I have Fishbach, who is my nerd of the season. Loved him in his season, and him trying to go for the golden boy and still failing to do so was wonderful. And then I think I had Rick Devens as my last one. Get some more new school blood in there. Him hiding the fake idols, and then both getting excited about it. And even though I don't like the Edge of Extinction piece of the show during that season, I mean, he made the most of it. So that's my list.
Nice list. Some unexpected ones.
Yeah. I didn't think of Dominic, but I do like what you said about it. And Keith, of course, was just so funny. And the seasons he was on, he was just really, really a stand-up guy, and and brought a lot of humor, and just like the things we wanted to say from the couch we were watching from, like he would just say them. So it was always funny. All right. My list is definitely who I like the best, not necessarily who, I mean, they're all really good contenders they could all win Survivor if they played together. But my number one is Sandra. I adore her. She lives and breathes Survivor. She's done it so many times. The fact that she did it, has won it twice in seasons that weren't an all winners season like Tony did. I think that sets her apart because, she already won it. Why are you bringing her back and allowing her that chance again? Shame on you for being fooled and letting her in and letting her win. So that just speaks to that. People say, oh, she doesn't have that stronger game. Yeah, she does. She's got $2 million to prove it. So
she does.
That's a lot of reasons right there, about 2 million of them. And then my number two, which nobody picked, and I'm going to pick her because she was a guest on our show this season, Miss Nina, which is our next generation of podcasters, of players. Nina's, she's got so much to her game. I think we saw her in the best season, what's been ranked the best season of Survivor ever across the board, which was Heroes versus Villains Australia. She made it to number 5 in that season. And wow, I mean, she could be a real contender. She's so nice that I think she would, like, people would like the thing that her mom does, people would be like, yeah, you played already and you're like royalty, but man, you're just nice. And I like having you around. I think she could go a long way if she took a US Survivor tour. My number 3 is Suri. I love this woman. I think she is amazing. And I'll tell you, I've seen her and I've always rooted for her. She's us, right? I got off the couch and I did this, even though I shouldn't have. And I loved it. And I'm going to keep coming back. But she had this amazingly tender moment on Big Brother this year. and where she really opened up about herself and she really supported people around her. And because like the conversation with her and Izzy was so like, it literally made me cry. And I never cry on reality. Like, it doesn't make me cry. Reality shows, they're like reality shows, but like that moment was so human and so deep that it like, she's up there for me. I just adore her. And I'm bringing Carolyn. Not only does she live right up the road from me, but I adore her. She is so much fun, so much energy. So just brings so much to the screen. You have to have Carolyn in anything that you do in Survivor. I hope she's one that comes back. And then my last female, I agree with you, Alex, Natalie. Man, I really liked her toughness. If you want to talk about pushing through and staying focused and just an amazing player. I really liked her a lot. So I definitely want to have Natalie. Now, my number 6, nobody picked him. I don't know if anybody would pick him. I didn't like him the first season I watched him. I really liked him the second season I watched him because he is he is a villain. He is funny. He's been called the Joker. His name is Geordie, and he is from Australian Survivor. I really like this guy. I need dastardly deeds on an island in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do. And Geordie is going to bring the humor and the naughtiness that I need for this. So I'm bringing Jordan. Geordie is just fun. So the Joker's got to be there. My number 7 is Wendell. That's another guy that's like out there doing things for the community after Survivor. He's kept the Survivor thing going, and he really is out there doing a lot of things to help those around him. I really like him. So I liked him on his seasons. I really think he's a great player. So Wendell is my pick. And I'm bringing Carson because they're going to be puzzles, right? And I think Carol would be really happy that I brought Carson along. So yeah. I had to bring Carson. He's my new school player besides Carolyn. Those are my 2 from now that I had to bring along because I love both of them. And then I have to have Cochran. Can you imagine Carson and Cochran together? I just really, and then after Cochran, I'm bringing Mike White. I want to see the 3 of them together.
Yeah, nerding out.
Can you imagine that, like phenomenal. The conversations and what would happen with those 3? Oh my gosh, it would be amazing. A little controversial player for my number 11, and that's Tyson.
But he's so great.
I love Tyson. He's got that naughty and he's nice. So you're either going to fall for him being nice and you're going to be like, oh, he's greatest guy ever. And he'll then turn on you and you'll be in trouble for it. And I like that. I need a little of that. So, but all in a good way, right? All in a good way. Because Tyson does have a nice pure heart. And I really like the guy a lot. And then Survivor wouldn't be Survivor if we didn't have food. And who better to bring home the fish every night but Rupert? I love this guy. He's a big teddy bear. If you need a big hug and you want to feel just great about yourself, he has a way of making you feel so good about yourself. And he feeds you. He's just a big bear. You just want him around. So that's my top 12 list. That's what I came up with. I think we all had terrific lists. I think bringing up the players like Wentworth and like Dominic and people that I hadn't thought of in a while that are just really great, just great people. I know we have to leave a little early, but I really want to say it has been so much fun. Next week's going to be crazy. We have the finale. It's going to be, I think we'll probably end up going long. I think we have a lot to talk about, but I just wanted to say this ride this season has been all the better because I get to hang out with you guys and talk about it every Thursday. So all of the hoopla next week, I want to make sure I say it this week. We have more in store for everyone. We thank you guys for being here and hanging out with us. Thanks, Bobby, for always checking in and giving us, great lists from everyone. And we do have traders, the traders coming out. Yeah, did you all see the trailer for the trader? It dropped today.
I will go look right now.
I have not seen it, but I've been getting alerts in my traders chat, which is a chat from the Tribe Has Spoken because we're all big fans in there. I can't see. I'm excited to see Parvati and Sandra work together I hope they
Oh,
do.
wow, I didn't see that. That's real?
I gotta go
Yeah,
look.
it's
I
real.
will,
It's
I will go
happening.
look. Thank you, Bobby.
We're going to take a little time in between the end of this season of Survivor 45 and the start of Australian Survivor, because I love covering that as well. It's a lot more intensive. But we're going to take a little time to talk about things like the traders and talk about the players that are coming up and all of these fun things that we love to do and talk about in the Survivor world. I want to spotlight some people that are doing a lot for their communities, for Give Kids the World and other things that support charity work, because once you're a Survivor player, it really keeps going, and they do a lot for people around them to support them. There's always auctions over on, thanks Gina, there's always auctions over on Etsy or on eBay to, like, for charity, that you can get in contact with survivors and either have time with them to talk with them or get memorabilia from them. So please go support that. You guys, what an amazing ride. Any last few words?
I'll go. This is a dream come true for me to be a Survivor podcaster, to talk all about Survivor podcasting, and dream come true. I'd love to do more of this, like go to past seasons or cover Australia. And we're all just such big Survivor super fans. So this is super fun for us. And to have people who are listening along is really, really cool. So please, if you like this, if you want us to expand to more seasons or continue doing this, please subscribe, please like, please comment. It's just fun for us, helps us kind of grow and, get this out to more people. Cause I would love to continue to do this, right? Even when there isn't a season, because sometimes there's a long break in between seasons, but we still need our Survivor fix. So help us out, share this, subscribe, so we can, so we're motivated to keep doing it. So thanks. What about you, Brandon? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to thank Gina, Bree, Alex for you guys having me on and being Trent 2.0. I appreciate that. This is a great ultimate escape from reality without having to be on the island. So getting away from everything and talking for an hour about, our favorite show for years is always wonderful. No matter how much my wife looks at me and like, oh, you're nerding out again with these guys. So I appreciate it. It's been awesome. And I can't wait for next week. Go D. Get this done.
Gina, close us out.
Oh yeah. I mean, this has been so much fun this season as a former reality reporter and podcast host who kind of left it behind for the world of voiceover. Coming back to it has been great. It just reignited my love for this show. It's my favorite reality competition, and getting to break it down with all of you every week is so fun. I'm super excited for the finale and definitely would love to keep it going and revisit old seasons and bring back contestants to maybe give their perspective. And, I feel like there's so much we can do together, and this has just been so much fun. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I have adored having every single one of you on here and hanging out and talking about it. It's the highlight of my week. I was just telling Alex, I have like 2 things that I absolutely have to do during the week that make my week come true and make it so much better. And this is in the number 1 spot, because it's like, there's just something about sharing how much happens. It's a reflection of the world. It gives us hope in humanity a lot of times, as we see the way people can love one another and interact with one another coming from all different backgrounds, and it brings us closer together. And I think that's what this world needs right now. And in the holiday spirit, we are so blessed and lucky to have all of you here coming in and joining us and stopping by. And if you're just stopping by, we love having you here. Leave us a comment, check us out, please subscribe. Brandon, we want to see you every week with us. We love having you here. So if your schedule allows it, please keep going with us. And we will see you guys next week. We are going to have so much fun. It is the season finale of this season's Survivor 45. Please come join us, and we will see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.
Bye.